The choice of mold material is one of the most important decisions when working on a project. The right material will depend on a few key factors. As always, keep the end result in mind when making these decisions. Think of your end goal and how to get there. For example, if you're casting a water-clear, life-size statue and your mold is made of rebound brush-on rubber or MoldMax T-Series, they won't give you the best results when casting the crystal clear resin into them. The chemistry just won't allow it to cure correctly. Instead, you want to use something like brush-on urethane rubber or MoldStar Platinum Silicone for this type of project. Key factors to consider. How to decide on the right mold material. And here are some basic formulas that you can follow. The desired outcome and the casting medium. Are you casting a resin, a wax, or concrete? Each medium has its own molded material requirements. The size of the model. For models under 20 centimeters or 10 inches, a block mold works best. For anything larger, consider a brush-on mold or a cavity pour mold. They will conserve material choice, and budget. Your budget will help determine whether you go for a high-end or a cost-effective molding material. Compatibility. Make sure that the mold material will not react to the model or inhibit the cure of the casting medium. Desired mold life. Now, molds do deteriorate due to a multitude of factors, including the casting medium and the mold material choice. Choose a mold material that will give you the best abrasion resistance to the material that you want to cast into the mold. Beyond the production life, many mold makers will archive the mold for future use. Make sure that the mold material has a long library life as well. Time factor. Time is of the essence, and waiting 16 to 24 hours for a mold material to cure is not always possible. Choose a mold-making material and additives that have convenient work and cure times. Now, let's take another example. If you're creating and casting a resin figurine like this one and need a fast turnaround, let's go through it point by point. So first thing we want to talk about is desired outcome and the casting medium that we want to use for this project. Now, because the desired casting outcome for this is a wood-like finish, we want to use a resin that can be easily made to look like realistic wood. Smooth On offers the Smooth Cast 320 that is an off-white base color and can be easily used for this application by adding the Urofil 5 filler. To make the casting more realistic, a shoe polish will be applied as a final touch. Now, I could choose either a silicone or polyurethane rubber, but if we don't want to use a release agent, because we will be applying a shoe polish, the choice falls onto silicone. The size of the model. Around 10 to 15 inches tall figurines and objects are usually best molded in block molds. Anything larger, you might want to reconsider the mold design itself. Block molds can be very heavy and big, and therefore you might also want to consider the material choice. More importantly, it will not be too expensive to pour a small block mold, and the time savings will be tremendous compared to doing a cavity pour or a brush-on mold, which takes a lot of time. If a pour-on mold is chosen, the viscosity of the molding material should be taken into consideration. Can the material degas easily on its own in the given working time, or do we need to use a vacuum chamber? Material choices and budget. Based on the desired casting outcome, there are usually several different molding options. Often the project's budget will be the deciding factor to what molding compound will be utilized. Smaller projects are a bit more cost forgiving. However, if several hundred pounds are needed for a large application, the difference between silicone and polyurethane can equate to thousands in material costs. For our project here, it makes sense to pour a block mold in silicone. Even if it's more expensive material than, say, polyurethane rubber, our cost savings will be in the form of not having to use a release agent in every casting and clean all the castings in order to stain or paint or finish them in any way we want. Compatibility. If you're not sure about the compatibility of your model and your molding material, either find out through research or do a small-scale test on the model itself. This will give you the best answer if your model and molding materials are compatible. Here you can see me applying the molding material to the model to test for compatibility. After the given cure time, the silicone has cured where it was in contact with the model. We are good to proceed. Time factor. Need a fast turnaround? Can't wait for 16 hours to demold and need to make the casting the same day? No problem. We got several platinum silicone options with short cure times to get you a casting quickly and finishing fast. So make sure you understand the materials that you're choosing for your projects. Desired mold life. We chose a platinum silicone for our project here since we are casting polyurethane plastic. I know that the silicone will have a good chemical resistance to the polyurethane resin and that the mold itself can last 25 plus years in storage when not in use. For this example, we use Dragon Skin 10 NV, but Moldstar 16 Fast or Moldstar 19T would be a good fit too. All three of these silicone mold rubbers have a 1-to-1 mix ratio and a quick cure time. However, you do need to keep in mind the fast cure times can trap air bubbles. Does this material give you enough pot life to vacuum and pour? Keep that in mind. Because we're using silicone mold rubber, no release agent is required, which is great if the figurine needs to be painted later. Let's do another example. Let's suppose you want to make a stone veneer mold like this one here, and you want to cast concrete. So let's go through our bullet points. The desired outcome of the casting medium. If you want to make a veneer mold and plan to cast concrete, you want a mold with high wear resistance. We chose to use polyurethane rubber for this application as it will have the best wear resistance to the casting medium. Size of the model. The stone veneer industry usually focuses on creating large-scale mold liners and molds, or they will focus on creating multiple molds on a smaller scale. This means that a lot of mold making material is required when creating molds like this that are for the production purposes. Material choices and budget. Because this project here has a much lower budget, we can't simply choose the most expensive material. We want to use a material that is cheaper, and polyurethane fits that description. It's a much cheaper product compared to platinum silicone. It will also hold up much better in a production setting when casting concrete is required. Compatibility. Polyurethane rubber is not as sensitive to inhibition as silicone will be, and less likely to have a reaction to materials used in the building of the model. If you're not sure, do a small-scale test on the original model. Time factor. While we do not have enough time to apply multiple layers of material to make a brush-on mold, we decided to make a block mold that will cure overnight and will not require a complicated support shell structure, further saving us time and money. The desired mold life. Urethane rubber is the way to go for long production life when casting concrete. Utilizing a release agent for the casting will further prolong the life of the mold rubber. Smooth-On manufactures several different polyurethane rubber products that can be utilized for the casting of concrete. For our project, we use the VitaFlex polyurethane rubber, but we also offer the PMC urethane rubber series. Both of them can be used in the production setting for casting of concrete. If you're working on a life casting project and need to make a mold of a body part, a skin-safe molding material is required. Choosing the material comes down to the handler's comfort level and the need to finish the mold as fast as possible. No model wants to be under the material for longer than they have to be. So do not choose a slow setting material. Now let's go over some of our requirements for our mold. Desired outcome and casting medium. Since we want to cast multiple products into this, such as clay, gypsum, cold casting with a resin, or potentially some wax or actual bronze casting, we want to choose a medium that's going to be acceptable to all these casting materials. Size of the model. Because we are working on a life casting on a face for this project, we don't really have a choice for pouring a block mold over a live model like this. We have to make a brush-on mold. You can use the body double visual chart on our website to determine how much material you need for a specific body part, or if you're making a mold of the entire body. Also, if you're using alginate to make your mold, we do have convenient sizes for project based on body parts such as the hands, feet, and others. Material choices and budget. Because our project here is a life casting project of a full head, we have to keep in mind that the mold making materials have to be skin safe in order not to harm the model. And for that choice, we have either silicone or alginate. And because we want to cast multiple items into these molds, we're going to choose silicone for this particular project. Now, you do have a choice of a cheaper material, which is alginates, but it does have a certain limitation because it is made with water. Compatibility. In this case, we're making a life casting mold. You have two options, either platinum silicone or alginate. Neither one of these materials should be inhibited by the model itself. Now, when choosing a material for your mold, you want to make sure that it is compatible with the casting material that we're going to pour into the mold. In this case, choosing AlgiSafe, which is a water-based alginate, does not allow us to cast material with long cure times. They will be most likely inhibited by the water content of the material. Therefore, a platinum silicone seems like a better choice for this particular project. Time factor. All the mold making materials for life casting are fast setting, with the simple idea in mind that we don't want the model to spend too much time underneath the mold. Especially if you're making a mold of a head, you are limiting the model's breathing to just the nose itself, and we want to minimize the time that the model has any discomfort. Desired mold life. A platinum-based silicone is chosen when multiple castings need to be made from the mold, while alginates are commonly used for single casting applications. Keep in mind that the alginate is mixed with water, and therefore casting option choices will be limited to fast-setting materials. Furthermore, the alginate will lose the water content and shrivel up as a mold itself. It will shrink, while the platinum silicone molds like the body double here will be good on a shelf for 25 years plus when properly stored. For this project, we're going to use the body double because we are planning to cast multiple materials into the mold. Also, we want to keep this mold for a long time to come, and it's going to last us 25 plus years in the mold library. Casting silicone can present challenges since the silicone needs to be painted in most of the cases. Now, to avoid the use of release agents, mold makers would create what are known as stone molds. These are gypsum-based molds that, once sealed, could be used for casting of silicone without the need of a release agent. Now, with the emergence of epoxies and resins, heavy stone molds have predominantly been replaced. Lighter and stronger and non-silicone inhibiting, they have become a go-to mold product for silicone casters. Let's go over our project criteria: desired outcome and casting medium. For this project, we want to create something that's flexible and stretchy, so we do want to use a silicone that's going to be used as a skin over a rigid skeleton. Size of the model. Now, this model here is life size, and we have to take that into consideration When handling the mold itself, we don't want to create a heavy mold that's going to be too heavy to handle. Rather, we're going to focus on creating a lightweight mold that is easy to handle by the mold maker. Now, the cheapest option would be to make a stone or gypsum mold. But because our model here is large and our budget allows for more expensive material, we decided to use the epoxies that you see here for this project. This will keep the project lightweight and strong. Compatibility. Now, I know that epoxies are an option that are compatible and will not inhibit the cure of platinum silicones. If you're not sure about your project, you know what to do. Do a small scale test to make absolutely sure that the materials you're using are compatible with the models and the material you want to cast into that mold. Time factor. Choose from different working times for the epoxies. Also, when possible, I work on different sections of the mold while others are curing. That way I don't have to wait unnecessarily for long periods while one section of the mold is curing. Desired mold life. Epoxy molds do not deteriorate from casting silicones. This mold right here will be used for decades to come, and with proper storage, it will last for a long time. What is the proper storage, you ask? Check the FAQ that we have on this topic on the website. Because epoxies are non-inhibiting to platinum silicones, we chose to make our mold out of epoxies. In this case, keeping it lightweight was important, so we did a composite layering of 3 different materials to keep it strong, yet lightweight. As you can see, choosing the right mold material is a process best determined by your project's outcome, size, the casting medium, and the other criteria that you want for your project. Whether you're making a brush-on mold, a pour-on block mold, a cavity pour mold, there is a smooth-on product that fits your needs. As always, keep the end result of your project in mind. Now, if you're still unsure, contact our smooth-on tech support team for guidance or try a small sample to ensure your process will work. For more tips, tutorials, and expert advice, visit our website at smoothon.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel.